Chapter 6, Lesson 4, Proportions in Right Triangles. Using a right triangle that has an altitude, we can create three similar triangles. The first one being the original. And so in this original 90-degree triangle, C is the right angle, and C to A is shorter than the side C to B. So we give the tall side the straight up and down, and we give the short side the horizontal. Next, we have a medium triangle, which is right here. And we're going to do the same orientation because we're doing similar triangles. And so in this medium triangle, the right angle is D, and C to D is a shorter side, and D to B is the taller side. And then we have this small triangle created by the other half of the altitude, which is over here. And in this small triangle, we have D, and the short side is A, and the tall side is C. Also, in this right triangle with its altitude, we can use a proportion, a specific proportion called the geometric mean. And when you have the geometric mean, the altitude splits the base into two parts. So like this is part 1 and this is part 2. And so the geometric mean says we can use the first shorter side of the base, like the part 1, over the altitude length is going to be congruent to the altitude over the part 2 or the longer half of the base. Use triangle XYZ to complete exercises 1 through 8. So once again, I'm going to split up the three triangles. So I have the small one here, which the right angle is W and the short side is Z, the tall side is Y. On the medium triangle here, the right angle is W, the short side is Y, and the tall angle is X. And the original big right triangle, angle Y is the right angle, Z is the short side, and X is the tall side. So this first one is talking about triangle XYZ, which is the big triangle. And it is similar to which triangle where Y is in the same place as X. So that would be the small triangle. And so it's YWZ to make it, since this triangle went X to Y to Z, this one has to go YWZ. Number 2 is XWY, which is this medium triangle. And it wants to know which one starts in the same place with X as the medium triangle. Well, that's the big triangle. And if I'm following the pattern, it'd be XYZ. Number 3 is ZWY, which is my small triangle. And I'm looking for which triangle has Y in the same spot, which is the medium one. So YWX. Number 4 says the side XW is congruent to what? And then what is congruent to WZ? So this is talking about the geometric mean. If I go back to this original triangle, it says YW is congruent to YW, and then YW congruent to WZ. So it's part 1 of the base over the altitude is the same as the altitude over part 2. The next one said, find the triangles where XZ is congruent to XY. Well, here's XZ and here's XY. So we're talking about the big triangle and the medium triangle. Then the big triangle lists YZ. So then we have to list WY. Number 6 says YW is the same as ZW, which is the medium and the small triangle. And then it says ZY is congruent to YX. XY and XW are the the big triangle here and the medium triangle. And so then it says YZ is the same as WY. And the last one, ZW and YW, is talking about the small and the medium, and it gives WX, so then I'll give WY. All right, solve for X in each right triangle. And this one, it gives us an altitude length, so we know that we're doing the geometric mean in all three of these. So for number 9, I'll do part 1, which is 12, over the altitude, which is 17, equal to the altitude, which is 17, over X. 12 times X is 12X. 17 times 17 is 289. Divide each side by 12, and I get X to be 24.1. On number 10, I'll set up the same thing. Part 1 over the altitude equals the altitude over the second part of the base. X times X is X squared. 6 times 12 is 72. To undo the X squared, I have to take the square root of 72. The square root of 72 is 8.5. Number 3, 9 over X equals X over 9. So X squared equals 81, and the square root of 81 is 9. Okay, on number 12, we have to look at our triangles. And so as I'm looking at this one, I see this medium triangle here has a hypotenuse of X and a side of 12. Then the other triangle I'm looking at that has a side of 15 and a hypotenuse of 12 plus X. So I'm going to set it up as hypotenuses over each other. So 15 over X plus 12. And since I did the 15, which is the medium triangle, I need to do the side of the medium triangle, which is 12, over the side of the big triangle, which is 15. So when I multiply 15 times 15 is 225. Distribute here gives me 12x plus 144. 225 minus 144 is 81. 81 divided by 12 is 6.75.